Buenas, this is going to go through the steps necessary to change the perspective of a paragraph. So below we have our paragraph, and we're going to change it from tú to ellos. So tú eres alto y simpático. Tú tienes los ojos cafés y tú eres rubio. No eres feo y no eres guapo. Tú tienes una familia normal. Tú eres artista. Tú pintas pinturas bonitas. También tú tocas el piano y cantas. Tus clases favoritas son la clase de arte y la clase de español. Okay, there are basically 4 steps you're going to follow, or 4 things you want to think about. You need to identify the subjects. In this case, it's going to be tú. Sometimes it would be a subject pronoun like tú, or él, ella, yo. Subjects can also include names. Second thing, identify the verbs. Ser and tener are easy to spot. But there's also any other actions. The third thing, you need to identify nouns or adjectives that need to change to agree with the subject. So if you're describing the person or the subject, it's going to need to change. And the last thing, remember, there are some parts of the paragraph that will not need to change. So think about that before you try to change everything. Okay, let's start at the beginning and identify the subjects. Okay, here's the paragraph with all the examples of tú highlighted. For this perspective change, we would change all of the tús to ellos. Now we're going to identify the verbs, so the form of ser, tener, or any other action. This is the chart to help you figure out the different verbs. The words in the box are what you're going to look for. Eres, tienes, or actions that end in either es or es. Here's the paragraph. Now the subjects are highlighted in yellow, the verbs are highlighted in blue. Now we're going to look for nouns or adjectives that need to change to agree with the subject. So the adjectives or nouns appear in green. There are some parts of the paragraph that will not need to change, so let's look at those. You'll notice for the examples of things that aren't going to change, a lot of times it follows the verb tener, to have. So, tú tienes los ojos cafés. The brown eyes does not need to change because it's not describing the person, it's describing the eyes. Also, if it's after an action verb like play the piano, el piano will not need to change. Or tú pintas pinturas bonitas, the pretty pictures, does not need to change. Okay, now we're ready to actually go through and make the changes. The easy changes are just looking at every time you see tú, it has to change to ellos. Another easy change, every time you see a singular adjective, you need to make it plural. For most of these, that means just adding an s to make it plural. To figure out how to change the verbs from matching the tú form to matching ellos, look at the chart. So you have tú eres, changes to ellos son, tú tienes, to ellos tienen, tú pintas, to ellos pintan, tú tocas, to ellos tocan, tú cantas, to ellos cantan. So for a lot of the tú forms, it goes from ending in either es or as to the ellos form, which ends in either en or an. Okay, so here's our finished paragraph. Ellos son altos y simpáticos. Ellos tienen los ojos cafés y ellos son rubios. No son feos y no son guapos. Ellos tienen una familia normal. Ellos son artistas. Ellos pintan pinturas bonitas. También ellos tocan el piano y cantan. Sus clases favoritas son la clase de arte y la clase de español. So this summarized how we change the perspective of a paragraph. If you have any questions, send Miss Butler a message on Edmodo. Y buena suerte.